Starting off this build, we're putting together the legs. Of course, we're using pocket screws. We are working off this plan that we found online. I will include the link to the plans in the description below. We attached the bottom table supports about 2 inches above the ground so that there'd be some clearance for the table. After the legs were put together, we attached the 2x2 runners that connected the 2 legs together and made up the main support for the tabletop. We are using wood glue for all of our connections because we wanted the table to be very solid and not to creak.
Looks like a baby bed.
The tabletop is a breadboard style, so the boards are going to be flush together, so we cut off the rounded edges so that they sit nice and tight together. Then it was time to add pocket holes to attach all the boards together and make one solid piece.
Should I stand on the middle one, the second one, or the crease?
Because we're using construction lumber, the boards were not perfectly straight, so we used a little extra weight to try and get a nice flat surface. To make the bottom shelf, we used 2 12x1 pieces of wood with a 1x2 piece in the middle to fill the space between the runners connecting the legs.
Okay. Hold it down here? Yeah.
We then attached that piece to the rest of the table with some pocket screws. It was a pretty tight fit. Decorative X in the legs was the most complicated part of this build. To get those cuts just right, it did take a little bit of time, but it really did make the piece. It does make it look really nice and like a piece of furniture you would pick up at the store. The table did end up being quite big, so we took 1 inch off either end to flush the sides and make it a little bit shorter. Now that the pieces are all together, it's time for some sanding before we permanently attach the top. Make sure to measure each side so that you can ensure the base is square to the top. Then attach the top with some 2.5 inch wood screws.
It's gonna be 10,000 pounds again. Oh no!
After the table was completely assembled, my job was done. Justin then took it back to his house to finish off painting it and staining it to match his home. We were planning on adding decorative corner pieces to the table later. They were just silver L brackets that we spray painted black. This is the paint, stain, and protectant that they chose to use on the table. I think that it turned out great. They sent me pictures of the project along the way so that you could see each step, and I think it looked fantastic. I think this ended up looking like a piece that you would go in and find at a pottery barn or in a high-end furniture store, so I was pretty proud of the project, and I think Justin had fun building it too, and I hope it inspires him to take on future projects.
Damn, this thing is hot.
Yeah, I did too. It's just
Being worked. Ooh.